Heyo everyone, MimiVix here, and this time I wanted to look at upcoming content that I'm looking forward to and that I feel that Dawntrail really needs. Beastmaster. My opinion on Dawntrail has mostly been positive, but I will agree that side content included has been a little repetitive. I've started calling instances such as Occult Crescent, Bozja, Eureka, and Cosmic Exploration as loop grinds, as you essentially are running in loops while interacting with the same things in order to reach an end goal. Yes, most games live on this, but I'm speaking on performing the same fates or leve-like quests on loop. It gets pretty dull and puts you on auto while you're listening to YouTube videos or a podcast or maybe a good music list, all while doing the task. Rant out of the way, I'm looking forward to Beastmaster partially because I love Blue Mage, but also because I enjoyed it on 11. That said, we can actually theorize what we will be seeing when Beastmaster arrives in patch 7.5 by looking at what we have in the game already. There are a few individuals that see Beastmaster as a random choice, while others view it as a staple in the Final Fantasy job system. However, there actually are Beastmasters within Final Fantasy XIV's lore that have existed since patch 5.35 all the way back in Shadowbringers. Unfortunately, this content is technically dead, but from it, we can get a better look at what we're going to expect from this job when it finally arrives. So come with me as we peel back the curtain and try to take a look at what we could see when Beastmaster finally joins the roster of playable jobs in Final Fantasy XIV. First, I wanted to take a look at a possible location for the Beastmaster unlock. And by doing that, I'm going to be looking at Blue Mage, because when Blue Mage originally dropped, players needed to go to Limsa in order to access the unlock quest, before it inevitably moved to Ul'dah in order to establish the Carnival. I used to think this was random, until I actually looked into some of the lore behind Blue Mage and found a connection. Blue Mage originates from the Wallaki tribe, which are located in the region of Zaktural, which is in Tural. We can see that you can travel via boat from Tural to Old Charlayan, and then take a boat from there to Limsa, which explains how we ended up in Limsa to begin with. I personally feel that Beastmaster's quest unlock is going to actually be in Ul'dah, and in order for me to explain why, it's time for a history lesson. Beastmaster is going to be a little complicated in this regard. So in order to truly delve into the history of Beastmaster, we need to go back in time. And not just a little bit in time. We are jumping back over 20 years in Final Fantasy XIV's history, all the way back to the King of Ruin in Alamigo, who decided it would be a great idea to attack Gridania to try and take territory. This ultimately failed as the other city-states joined Gridania in defense, and thus Alamigo lost the Autumn War. Weakened by this, Garlemald saw a great opportunity and decided to attack. So Alamigo ends up falling to Garlemald rule, and the Empire starts initially indoctrinating everybody in. Everybody's going to be in the military, and you don't have anything to say about it. You serve us. You are nothing more than cogs in our machine. This, of course, did not bode well for anybody, and several people ended up fleeing. These refugees ended up in Thanalan, creating the Little Alamigo refugee encampment not terribly far from Ul'dah. However, some families were not so lucky, one of the families being the Voxstein family, which was a family renowned for beast taming. The head of household, Cairn, actually ended up being captured and was threatening his execution until one of his sons, Gant, stepped forward and volunteered to join the Imperial Army. In exchange for his father's life, he taught the Imperials how to train griffins, thus birthed a faction of Beastmasters within the Empire's army that was actually issued out in conflicts, typically in Bozja. Gant was not viewed as a asset. He was viewed as a traitor. His family name was essentially ripped to pieces, but Gant did not care. He simply wanted to preserve nature. He was a very nature-oriented individual, and when he found out that the Garleans were going to burn down an entire forest, he went against their word to try and save as many creatures as he could with his griffin partner. He ended up coming across a small Lalafell whom was abandoned, could not speak, could not write, literally little wild child, took said child in, named them Pagaga ko Voxstein, and ended up training her in the art of beast taming. Lion, the Beast King, of course, was not too fond of this, but did not give two craps because he was viewed as an amazing individual, and thus he's a pain in the butt to fight. I'm gonna just say it right now. He is a pain in the butt to fight. His griffin is a pain in the butt to fight. Oh my god. Dalriada was a pain. But unfortunately, Gamps does not have a happy ending. He did end up dying, unfortunately. And Pagaga actually ends up trying to be better because she does not want the Voxstein name to be ran through the mud anymore, and she honored the man who essentially became her father. And it is these two characters that give us a huge clue as to what we might be looking at as far as gear. Both Pagaga and Lion use a one-handed axe and a shield, which is not something that exists in the game. Yes, we have one-handed axes for Botanist, but they essentially took the warrior axe and shrunk it down and put it on a sword in order to get the animation. It is kind of funny, but that could imply that Beastmaster will have a one-handed axe and shield as their primary set for weaponry, because of the fact that they are physical combatants. I also kind of think we are going to be using the striking gear, especially since we have the ties to Alamigo, and Alamigo has the monk and samurai, because technically Doma was in Stormblood and are connected. It's a whole bunch of things. I'm not saying that Doma is Alamigo, Doma is its own thing. I'm simply saying that because we had to work with Doma and Alamigo in the same, we are likely going to be trying to share gear. So possibly using striking gear. I'm kind of excited for it. I do think that they will be implementing specific shields for Beastmaster. If we get shields, it's probably going to have their own special thing and not share the same one that tanks use, since the stats would need to be skewed. But one-handed axe and shield seems to be where we are going, and I'm very excited about that because I would like that very much. Please and thank you. However, because of the fact that we have little Alamigo in Ul'dah, I do feel that it would make more sense for the starting quest to end up in Ul'dah, because of the fact that it wouldn't make too much sense going to Gridania, especially since we do have that border tension. Yes, we are in an allegiance with Alamigo now. They are no longer a confrontational point, but I don't feel that it would be good to have the Beastmaster start quest start in Gridania. While I can put forth an argument that it would make sense in the fact that beast taming and nature preservation seem to be in this family's line, I also could kind of see it not going that way. Gridania does have the poachers as their side content threat to the forest, and the attune with nature with the conjurer, but I feel it would make more sense to have someone coming to Ul'dah in order to try to let the people of Little Alamigo know Alamigo is free and that they can in fact return home if they choose. So that is where I'm kind of leaning as far as where the Beastmaster start quest will go. We do have another instance where a Beastmaster or Beastmaster adjacent character is actually put into the forefront in Final Fantasy XIV. During the Viper job quest storyline, you actually are following a Viper character that is hunting a Tural Vidral that has somehow managed to migrate its way from Tural over to Eorzea. This, however, can give some lean toward having her quest be in Gridania, as it does require the twin adders. As a twin adder actually ends up being the villain, Innocent Stork used wild grass in order to, quote-unquote, tame various beasts, and even used this taming as a means of leverage against a fellow twin adder in order to force them into helping her. This plan does inadvertently end in her death. She does die to the Tural Vidral, and the aiding twin adder is arrested and is going to be put on trial for his actions, even though what he did do ended up in her demise and the whole plan breaking down in the end. This sort of also shows us that there are items that you can use in order to tame beasts, which sort of reminds me of the jug pets from Final Fantasy XI a little bit, as you would have a craftable item that you would then use as a musk that would call forth an entity of varying strength depending on the type of jug pet you used, and you are limited by level as to which pet you had. The most popular being Courier Carry for those of you who played Final Fantasy XI. If you know, you know. But this kind of makes me wonder if, rather than having a charm ability that we actively are using against enemies in the field, if we were in fact going to be using jug pets to cycle through our Beastmaster stuff. If that is the case, I'm personally going to be looking forward to that, because having us magically summon a creature is not going to feel much like Beastmastering to me, but that is a personal gripe. Heyo, Mimi Vix from the editing part. I do want to add that during the Viper storyline, the wildgrass pouch that is being implemented by Innocent Stork is explained to have a very pungent odor that causes confusion and overstimulation of the senses in the creatures, which is how she is managing to control the beasts. This does not steer me away from us having jug pets, but I do also understand that if it is something that has to be crafted by the player, that there could be a market board problem amidst players, and that would also give certain people an unfair advantage, so to speak. I still would like to see something of a similar vein being implemented into the game, even if it is simply that we are ringing specific bells or using specific instruments in order to summon forth these creatures from the wild. Having the ability to charm actual monsters may also cause some problems in Final Fantasy XIV, for the specific reason that low-level players do sometimes need those creatures for things such as their hunting log. And if you have a bunch of Beastmasters all charming the same general animal in an area, that can cause problems for the lower-level players that are not playing Beastmaster and actually need like ladybugs or something to do their hunting log. I would also like to think that with Final Fantasy XIV, we will be following in Final Fantasy XI's view, which is that certain enemies of a set quote-unquote intellect are not going to be afflicted by charm. So beastkin are off the table. Goblins, Sahagins, kobolds, the like of that, are not going to be eligible to be used as pets because they are not, in fact, animals. They are beast tribes, so to speak, even if we do not have a dedicated beast tribe to be used in the game. So we have a possible unlock location being in Ul'dah, as we do have the free Alamigo as our leverage point, with some arguments that could be made to Beastmaster being in Gridania because of the fact that we have the Innocent Stork incident between the twin adders. But I really feel the leverage leans more toward Ul'dah. I could take either one and I'm not going to be upset if I am incorrect in my assessment. It just doesn't make sense if it's in Limsa, because seriously, why Limsa Laminza? Why does it have to be Limsa? I like Limsa, it's my starting city, but come on, share the love. Let another city have a start job, please. Please, please, please. Now, I do not have a clue as to where it could take us. It would be awesome to have us not end up in a primary city-state, because that tends to be what happens, at least for our limited jobs. We started in Limsa and we ended in Ul'dah, and it's just, I don't want us to end up in Ul'dah. I don't want us to be having another arena champion fight, because come on, man. Give us, if we're gonna do that, have it be somewhere else. Come on. Yes, Ul'dah has the Colosseum. Yes, monster battles would be fun, but can we please just go somewhere else at the end of a quest? That's not Ul'dah. Heck, you know, even the Wolf's Den Pier would be fun. Maybe they could implement something that would allow players to duel monsters at the Wolf's Den Pier. That would be interesting. That would also give you another implementation of the dueling that they have at that location that I don't see many people ever use. We also have the potential of one-handed axe for actual combat, which I feel will be a breath of fresh air, because I know there's actually several people that wanted that, and hammers, to be included in the game. And I do feel Beastmaster will be leaning into the one-handed axe with shield combo. They did it in 11 as well, but subbing Ninja, and by subbing I mean sub-job Ninja, to dual wield axes was actually more popular, because you got special status effects on your axes that you could end up stacking. But we don't have that, so we are going to end up with the sword shield combo instead, which is, again, perfectly fine. I do not think we will be using fending gear, even though we do have shields as the offhand item, because again, it doesn't make sense to have your Beastmaster be the tank. You are supposed to be pumping this information and all of these stats into your pet. So I personally feel we would be using striking gear, maybe maiming, but I would be more inclined to striking or scouting, just because of the stat spread. Does not mean that I'm going to go and pour any of my poetics into anything yet until I have a definitive answer as to which gear I will be needing to be pumping my poetics into. But I think striking would make the most sense, because aiming seems a bit weird unless they're going to make us throw our axe, which again Pagaga and Lion do not do. So again, that would be very, very out of left field. Don't let me throw my axe. I don't need to be tomahawking all day. Just axe and board and fight alongside my pet doing like synergies or something. And again, I'm concerned about using charm as a means to get your pet, because again, that could cause problems with lower level people or people that are actively having to hunt specific things, especially since there are some side quests. People I think still do side quests that require you to kill a set number of blank target, and Beastmaster could impede on that, especially if they do not do a mechanic that causes the charmed enemy to count as a despawned enemy, and thus the enemy respawn in. And if you drop your charm, the monster will just auto despawn, similar to how your chocobo has a timer, and after that timer goes off, your chocobo goes bye-bye, often at very inopportune moments. But these are just some things that I think would actually work fairly well in at least the realm of Final Fantasy XIV's game mechanics. So what is your opinion on the upcoming Beastmaster class? Do you have anything in particular that you think will be implemented in the game? How do you think it's going to work? What weapons and stuff do you think that we will be using? What gear set do you think we'll be able to equip? Let me know down in the comments below. I love hearing everybody's opinions and thoughts. It's so wonderful that we have such an active community and so many minds on it. Just make it so fun. Until next time, though, have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next video.